Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear students, today inshallah we're going to discuss ossification. What is the meaning of ossification? Ossification is bone formation. The bone is formed from mesenchymal tissue in embryo. There are two types of bone which are histological classification, compact and spongy. We have two methods for ossification. Intramembranous ossification, the bone develops within the mesenchymal membrane, and intracartilaginous ossification or endochondrial, the bone develops by replacement of the cartilage. And the cartilage model here is the hyaline cartilage. Intramembranous ossification. This is the skull, and this is the fontanelle. Here, this tissue is undifferentiated mesenchymal cells. The intramembranous ossification occurs in flat bones as that of the skull and the clavicle. The future bone is occupied with mesenchymal membrane. Primary center of ossification appears. What do I mean by primary center of ossification? Starting of the ossification. And how the ossification start by highly vascular area. Good blood supply come to the middle of this membrane. The UMC condense, proliferate, and differentiate to osteogenic cell. So the key for ossification is increase the blood supply. Increase blood supply to the undifferentiated mesenchymal cell, it will change to osteogenic cell. The osteogenic cell increase in number and size and differentiate to osteoblast. The osteoblast will divide and secrete the organic matrix and secrete alkaline phosphatase that precipitate the calcium in the matrix. When the osteoblast become trapped inside the lacuna, change itself the name into osteocyte. Here, as you see, the bone matrix extend radial manner to form trabeculae. Radiating from the primary center of ossification. So, I have irregular bone trabeculae and osteocyte imprisoned inside the lacuna. In between these cavities, again, this is the undifferentiated mesenchymal cells. Increase blood supply, the undifferentiated mesenchymal cell become osteoblast. The osteoblast form a bone matrix, become calcified and imprisoned inside the lacuna to form the osteocyte. Multiple ossification centers appears, so I'm having irregular bone trabeculae. This irregular bone trabeculae will give rise to spongy bone. Between the trabeculae, I'm having cavities. These cavities will be filled with vascular tissue to form the red bone marrow. As we said before, spongy bone present in the center of flat bone, in the center of the epiphysis. At either side of the spongy bone, remodeling occurs to replace the spongy bone with compact one. At either side of the compact, the periosteum is formed of outer fibrous layer and inner osteogenic layer. Before starting the intracartilaginous ossification, you should know that the model for the intracartilaginous ossification is cartilage model. In embryo, the limb buds from the mesoderm, outgrow and condense and take the shape of the future bone. The mesenchymal cell differentiate into chondroblast, which produce the cartilage matrix, resulting in the formation of a model of a hyaline cartilage. The hyaline cartilage here is surrounded with perichondrium. Intracartilaginous ossification. I'm going to form bone. I'm going to replace the cartilage by bone. Occurs in the long bones of the limbs. It will replace the cartilage model, which take the shape of the future bone. I'm going to replace the hyaline cartilage with bone. The cartilage model grows by appositional growth. Which cell is responsible for the appositional growth, dear students? The inner chondrogenic cells. And the interstitial methods, increasing in the length, occur by the chondrocyte, division of the chondrocyte. First, I'm having primary center of ossification. As I said, the key for ossification, increased blood supply. Primary center of ossification starts to appear in the middle of the diaphysis, appears at the center of the model. Here is the future bone. Here is the future bone. Okay? Here is the shaft. Here is the epiphysis. The primary center of ossification occurs at the center of the model. Okay? At the center of the model of the hyaline cartilage. This is the future bone formed of hyaline cartilage and surrounded with perichondrium. Primary center of ossification carry good blood supply. Okay, invade here the shaft of the future bone. The perichondrium become vascular. So the inner chondrogenic changed into osteogenic. So the perichondrium will change it into periosteum. The periosteum is formed of outer fibrous layer and inner osteogenic. The inner osteogenic will form osteoblast, and the osteoblast will start to make bone. The osteoblast will form the organic components of the matrix, and the alkaline phosphatase will calcify the matrix. What I'm going to have now is periosteal bone collar. I'm going to form bone collar under the periosteum in the middle part of the future shaft. Dear students, you know that the hyaline cartilage is avascular and it takes nutrition from the perichondrium by diffusion. The perichondrium here changed into periosteum and we have periosteal bone collar. It will prevent nutrition to come from the periosteum to supply the chondrocytes present in the middle. So I'm going to impede the diffusion of oxygen and nutrition to the cartilage cell. Another issue will happen. The chondrocyte present in the middle of the model will proliferate and become mature. Something wrong happened here. The chondrocyte contains alkaline phosphatase that was inactive. Hypoxia leads to activation of this alkaline phosphatase, and I'm going to start to deposit calcium in the matrix. This deposition will lead to more deprivation of the chondrocyte from its nutrition, and the chondrocyte will die in their lacuna, leaving the lacuna empty. Again, dear students, here is the model. Here is the periosteal collar, and the chondrocyte will die. Okay, the chondrocyte will die, leaving the lacuna empty. Here will be the role of the osteoclast. The osteoclast will open the hole in the bone collar, allowing the periosteal capillaries containing osteogenic cells and UMC to invade the cavities inside the model. This vascular bud contains UMCs that change to osteogenic, and the osteogenic will form osteoblast, and the osteoblast will deposit bone in an irregular manner, so I'm going to form spongy bone. Do I want to end with spongy bone? No, I want to be compact bone. Between the bone trabeculae, there is red bone marrow, exact definition of the spongy bone, irregular bone trabeculae in between them, multiple bone marrow cavities. I want to be compact bone, so remodeling will start. What's the meaning of remodeling? I'm having multiple bone marrow cavities and irregular bone trabeculae. This is spongy bone. Remodeling, I'm going to change the spongy bone into compact bone. How comes? The osteoclasts start to resorb the irregular bone trabeculae, forming single bone marrow cavity. And I'm going to start to arrange the osteoclast in order to form the Haversian system, and I'm going to form the compact bone. How I'm going to make remodeling? This is longitudinal section and this is transverse section. First, I'm having the osteoclast, then the osteoblast will be arranged like this and start to form bone in concentric bone lamellae. I'm going to form concentric bone lamellae, and the osteoblast were going to be present in lacuna and changed into osteocyte, and then I'm going to form the Haversian canal containing blood vessels. This is the Haversian system. Okay, this is LS section, longitudinal section. Here is a longitudinal section. First, I'm going to have osteoclast. First, the osteoclast. Then the osteoblast will arranged and start to form bone lamellae. Start to form bone lamellae. This is one bone lamellae. The other bone lamellae. As we said, the osteoblast will be imprisoned inside the lacuna and change into osteocyte, and in the center there is the Haversian canal containing the blood vessels. Haversian system formation, concentric bone lamellae are deposits around the blood vessel to form the Haversian canal. Again, dear students, here is our model. Here is the primary center of ossification, and here I formed one bone marrow cavity, and this is the compact bone. What will happen next? Secondary center of ossification start to appear at the epiphysis on both ends of the long bone. Increase the blood supply. The hyaline cartilage will be replaced by spongy bone. Okay, here is the shaft, here is the epiphysis, and the area between them is known as the metaphysis. Here I'm having single bone marrow cavity, and this is the compact bone. Here is the epiphysis. I'm having secondary center of ossification. I'm having spongy bone. This is the epiphysis, and this is the epiphyseal plate or the metaphysis, and this is the diaphysis. Here in the center of the epiphysis, I'm having spongy bone. At the outer aspect, I'm having the compact bone. The cartilage still present at the articular surface and in the epiphyseal plate. Till the age of 21 years, this epiphyseal plate will ossify, and the epiphysis become fused with the diaphysis. Thus, the cartilage in the middle part of the head is spongy bone, okay, except the epiphyseal plate still cartilage till the age of around 21, okay, and still cartilage and closes at the age of 21 years. The articular surface still to be hyaline cartilage. It will stay forever and never ossify, and be the articular surface with hyaline cartilage to allow easy movement of the joint. Again, dear students, here is the model of the future bone formed of hyaline cartilage. Okay, then primary center of ossification start at the middle of the future shaft here, or the future diaphysis. Increasing blood supply, which is the key for the ossification, the perichondrium will change it into periosteum. The inner osteogenic will start to lay bone here to form the bone collar, and the chondrocyte will die due to this bone collar and due to the position of the calcium in the hyaline matrix. Then the chondrocyte will die and the osteoclast will open the lacuna and allow the vascular bud to come through, and I'm going to form spongy bone. Then remodeling occurs. I'm going to change the spongy bone into compact bone. Secondary center of ossification appears at the ends of the epiphysis. The hyaline cartilage were going to be replaced by spongy bone, except the articular surface and the epiphyseal plate. Articular surface will stay for life as hyaline cartilage, while the epiphyseal plate ossify at the age of around 21 years. As you can see here, the shaft is formed of compact bone with single bone marrow cavity. Postnatal growth of the bone. Postnatal, after delivery, the bone increase in width by appositional growth. The appositional growth by the inner osteogenic, by the inner osteogenic that change it into osteoclast. I'm going to form new bone on the surface or the outer surface of the compact bone. Okay, and the older one become resorbed by the action of the osteoclast. Growth in the length or the interstitial. This occurs through the epiphyseal plate, which is formed of hyaline cartilage. At the age of 21 to 23 years, the ossification of the epiphyseal plate is completed and the epiphyseal disc is completely replaced by ossified bone. Here is, dear students, the epiphyseal plate. Epiphyseal plate. First stage is zone of resting stage of hyaline cartilage. Then I'm having the proliferative zone, in which the chondrocyte increase in number and become arranged into parallel rows. Then zone of hypertrophy. Zone of hypertrophy. The chondrocyte increase in size. The chondrocyte increase in size as a result of accumulation of glycogen and alkaline phosphatase. But this alkaline phosphatase will do what? Zone of calcification. The matrix will become calcified. The chondrocyte deposit calcium in the surrounding matrix, so the cartilage cell will die, leaving empty space. Then we have the zone of invasion. Zone of invasion. Vascular bud formed of blood capillaries, UMCs, enter through holes formed by the osteoclast. Then we have zone of ossification, which is formation of spongy bone. The osteogenic will form osteoclast, and the osteoclast will form irregular bone trabeculae. In between them, bone marrow cavities. So the zone of spongy bone formation or the zone of ossification. Then I'm having the zone of remodeling. What do I mean by remodeling? I'm going to change the spongy bone into compact bone. The osteoclast will digest the irregular bone trabeculae, changing them into single bone marrow cavity. Then I'm going to arrange myself in the form of Haversian system in order to form the compact bone. Haversian canal surrounded by concentric bone lamellae. In between the lamellae, I'm having chondrocytes inside lacuna. Here, the zone, the epiphyseal plate, different zones: resting, proliferative, maturation, calcification, invasion, spongy bone formation. After that, we have the remodeling and the compact bone formation, not present in this photo. Again, resting stage, zone of proliferation, zone of hypertrophy, zone of calcification. Here the chondrocyte will die. Then zone of invasion. Then the spongy bone formation or ossification. There is a balance between the osteoclast and the osteoclast. The osteoclast is stimulated by the parathyroid hormone. The parathyroid hormone stimulates the action of the osteoclast. What is the action of osteoclast? Bone resorption and release of the calcium to the circulation. So it increases the blood calcium and decreases the calcium inside the bone. Why? The calcitonin hormone inhibits the osteoclast. The calcitonin secreted by the parafollicular C cell, which is present in the thyroid gland. The calcitonin inhibits the osteoclast. So I'm going to keep the calcium inside the bone and I'm going to decrease it in the circulation. That's why the calcitonin is used in treatment of osteoporosis by inhibiting the action of the osteoclast, keeping the calcium inside the bone. Fusion of the epiphysis. When the bone attains its full length, the chondrocytes stop to proliferate. The process of calcification continues to extend to the cartilage till the whole plate is ossified and fused with the diaphysis. Thank you, dear students.